Good morning. Oh, and there goes the dryer. Good morning. This is Barbara Reed, the Wexford Stamper, with another Thursday morning Facebook Live. Hoping everyone is doing well as we are jumping on here at 10 o'clock. Good morning, Lisa. You must have had your alarm on this morning. You are prompt, girl. I want to take a couple of moments here at the beginning to remind you that I have gotten my catalogs now, and if you are a current customer, have bought something from me within the last year, you will automatically get a catalog from me in the mail, and I will include in the mail with the catalog some of the new swaps that we're going to be offering. We're going to have shares. We're going to have a designer series paper share and a embellishment share and a ribbon share. So there's so much in the catalog. If you'd like to have just a little sample of each, that's what our shares do, and that gives you a great idea of which ones you might like to stock up on later. So our shares will be available, and look for a catalog in your mailbox before the end of May. This catalog begins on June 3rd. I'm checking. Yes, June 3rd. Remember that we still have a lot of retiring product from our current catalog, and that's still on until June 2nd. So now is a great time to stock up on some of the good sale items. Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Diane. Nice to see you guys. All right, now today we are going to be making a very, very cute little gift for someone. Great to plop down on somebody's desk if you have coworkers that would enjoy these, but they're just little Post-it note holders. So it's just like a little box, and it holds a pack of the regular 3x3 Post-it notes. And the closure I made is I just slip it behind my sentiment on the front. There's all kinds of ways you can close these boxes, with a ribbon, with a magnet. I really like that for my design this time. So very easy to make. I'm using paper from the new ORNATE Garden Suite. Morning, Stacy. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining. And I have two different versions here. This one I use the terracotta tile cardstock, and this one I use the mint macaron, but very, very pretty either way. And I also am going to be using the medium daisy punch, which is another favorite of mine. These are really easy to make, and you can make two out of one piece of cardstock, which is very, very cool. So let me grab these and put them away. And for anyone who shares this video onto their own personal news feed, will be put in a drawing, and I'm going to give away two of these little Post-it note holders. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Remember, you don't have to worry. I will have all the dimensions and everything you need on my blog after this stream. This is the piece of paper you need. I'm going to make a mint macaron version today. And the size that you need of this paper is just 9 by 4 1/8. So you can get two of these little Post-it note holders out of one piece of cardstock, which is nice. All right, so let's bring in my scoring board, and we're going to score along the long side first. That's the 9-inch side. And let's see, I've got to get my directions here so I don't muff. All right, first one is going to be at 3 1/8. That's the little tick mark right after 3. 3 5/8. Tick mark after 1/2. 6 3/4. 7 1/4. All right, just 4 score lines that way. Now on the long side, we're going to score at 1/2 inch on both sides. And the way I like to do it so that the 1/2 inch is as close to being identical for both sides is I turn the paper and then I put a 1/2 inch from the left side for both. Rather than doing half here and half here, I just feel like you get a little more of a more accurate measure that way. All right, that is all you need to do for your scoring today. All right, hi Sarah, good morning neighbor. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to crease all my score lines. Hope everybody is doing well today. I'm sitting here in my craft room. I have my window open and the birds are singing and Miles is over at the window enjoying the birds. But boy, what a nice day today. I'm excited for the weather coming up. Sounds like we're going to have a few nice days here. All right, so there is my paper all creased. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and take my paper snips and do some cutting. Now you're going to notice that it's broken down into 3 panels. Okay, this one, then you have your small, then this one, and then a small rectangle, and then you have this one here, which is the smaller of the 3 larger sections. This is going to be the flap that folds over in the front. So what you're going to need to do here, and I'm going to turn it over because I can see the lines better on the back, and I'm going to cut up from the bottom. You notice I'm cutting on the left side of that score line to kind of cut that away. And I'm cutting up through the first horizontal to the second horizontal and cutting across like that. Okay, so that is my first. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut and do the identical same thing on the other side. If you cut away that score line, then you won't have that little bump there when you're trying to put together your box. So that's our first, okay, cuts. Now I'm going to turn it so it's landscape, and I'm going to cut up these 2 little vertical score lines to the first horizontal, and then I'm going to cut and wedge a little bit out. Again, I cut to the outside of both of the score lines so they would be cut away. Okay, same thing here. Cutting to the outside of the score line and then a little wedge. All right. Okay, so that is all the cutting for this, believe it or not. The last thing I'm going to do before I put on my Designer Series paper panels, I'm going to bring in my trio punch. And this is a great punch because you get 3 for 1. I use it most of the time for rounding. Let me get a piece of paper here. Okay, and this is what I'm going to use it for today. But this trio punch will round your paper, or it will give you a really cute little decorative element on the corner of your paper, if you can see that. Or it'll put a little hole in your paper. For example, if you need to run a piece of ribbon or something through a paper. So it's very, very handy. I use it mostly for rounding, and it's real easy to use, but it's a great deal to have. And I did notice it is carrying over into the new catalog, so it will still be around if you need to wait till June or later to buy it. And you just slide it in and make sure both sides of your paper are up against the little plastic indicators, and then you just stamp down and you get lovely rounded edges. I just love the rounded edges. I think it gives it a nice polished look. Can you hear the birds in here? I know. It's awesome. I'm leaving it open today, Lisa. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is bring in our Designer Series paper panels. And I'm missing one. That's not good. Let me cut another one. I need a small one, and now it's missing. All right. Okay. I'm going to dig here first before to make sure. Nope. Okay, let me cut another one. Looks like we had everything ready but our... Okay. That one is cut at 1.5. All right. Sorry about that, folks. Now we're ready. Okay. You're going to need 3 pieces of Designer Series paper. You have two that are the front and back of the box, and these are 2 7/8 by 2 7/8. You're going to have two of those. Again, this is paper from the Ornate Garden Suite. Love this paper. I have just been using like crazy. All right. Then I have a shorter piece or smaller piece that's going to be on the flap. And just like the flap has the rounded corners, we're going to need to round the corners of this as well. So we're going to bring in our trio punch again and round those corners. All right, so now I'm going to bring in my Tombow. What's everybody working on today? Anybody working on some special crafting projects? I know, Lisa, you're making cards. Oh, come on. It is. Hey, Kat. Good morning. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put some Tombow. And this one is going to go right up here on my flap. And I'm going to have a little bit, perhaps 1/8 of an inch border around that piece. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and bring in my two other squares. These are 2 7/8 by 2 7/8, but don't worry, I'll write it all down and put it right in the blog for you. And this video will also be on my blog and my YouTube channel, so if you need to go back and have the visual to help you put it together, and I understand that. I much prefer to watch a video than read directions, so I get that. I'm a YouTube girl. Okay, well, there we go. There's all our paper put on. Oh, it's so pretty already. I just love this paper. All right, now we're going to go ahead and put our box together. Now, usually what I do is I put these little tabs on the inside of the box. They go first layer in. But what I found is when I was pushing down my little Post-it notes that they would get caught on those little tabs because they were so they were sticking out a little bit. So what I did this time around, instead of doing it that way, I actually put the tabs between the layers. So let me show you how I do that. This is the first layer, and that is the sides that are right on the panel closest to the flap. And now I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the inside of those flaps. We usually put it on the outside, but stay with me here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue it to the outside of this panel. Okay, we usually put it inside, but because we don't want it to show, but this box comes together a little differently, and the final panel is going to cover both of those flaps. And then the flaps won't be inside to get caught on your Post-it note holder, your Post-it notes when you slide them in. So there's your first step. You're going to put those on the outside of the side panels closest to your top flap. Okay, then you're going to come back and you're going to put a little bit of Tombow on the inside flaps of your lower panel. Then you're just going to fold it up and over. Okay, and just hold it a little bit. Maybe bring your bone folder inside and push it down a little bit. There you go. That's how easy that is. Okay, and I can take my pack of Post-it notes and they slide right in, and there's nothing inside that's gonna get stuck or caught on them. So, and it's great to put a pack of in as soon as you can, because then you can really run down the sides and get a good stick on your side. So that's it. That is the whole thing. That's how easy those are. But let's go ahead and do some embellishing. The first thing I'm going to do is make my daisy. And the daisy I made for this style, I used the So Saffron cardstock. It's kind of a pale yellow. I just thought that went best with this. And I cut out 3 of these daisies. Okay. All right. Hi, Barbara. Good morning. Thanks for joining, everybody. All right. And now I'm going to take my finger, or you can take your bone folder, whatever you prefer, and you want to round these a little bit. Give them a little bit of dimension. I love the pale yellow daisies. I make a lot of the white ones too, but the pale yellow is very pretty too. All right, so I'm rounding them so that they curl up a little bit because they just look a little better on your project rather than just being flat. Okay, now there is my daisy. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a little Tombow, put a little on the first daisy. Then I'm going to turn one of these over and I'm going to stick it to the first using my pick tool. And I want to make sure that I'm alternating here. Okay, that the petals on the second go between the petals on the first. And that really makes them look very full that way. And see, since we did a little bit of curling, you can really see how that gives it a little bit of lift. Now I'm going to put my last one on and I'm going to put him on curls up, and again I'm going to alternate. Okay, so there is my daisy so far. Okay, and he's a little stuck. There we go. All right, now to finish off my daisy, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring in my 1/4 inch circle, and I'm going to go ahead and get me a center for my daisy. A little more in the middle. Take my tool. I'm using the putty end. This is just the best tool to pick up tiny little things that are hard to pick up with your fingers. Last step for this is the leaf, and I'm going to use the leaf punch for this with some Mossy Meadow cardstock. The leaf punch is retiring, and I am very sad about that, but I'm glad I have one in my stash. But if you don't, you might want to look and see if they're still available on the retiring list. Okay. Hi, Karen. Good morning. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit. Now, when I tried to get all 3 of these leaves to show, I really didn't like the way that looked. So what I did is I focused on these 2 leaves here and put a little bit of glue on the 3rd leaf there. And then I just brought my daisy up like that so that those 2 were showing. Okay, not so concerned about the other. So if you look on the back, it looks a kind of funky, but we'll never tell anybody. All right, so there is your daisy for on your box. I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to put a dimensional on the back. Take that backing off. Oops, not the whole dimensional. Not what I meant. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place him on my flap right up here in the right-hand corner. And see, with a little bit of the curling that you did, it lets the flower be a little more fluffy. I think that looks so pretty. Okay, now we have our last thing to do here. We're going to go ahead and make our sentiment. Let me bring it in again. Okay, and the way I made the sentiment is I put the dimensionals in the middle and at the bottom here and left a little bit of space at the top for the flap to slide in under. Okay, so that the label can act as a closure for your box, which I think is a really cute way to do it. Of course, I talked about you could put a ribbon around it if you'd rather close it that way, or a magnet, whatever you like. But this way, we're going to just do with the little label that we use for our box. All right, I'm going to need to use the Label Me Fancy. That is another great label punch, and that one is carrying over. That's a beautiful punch that you can get. It makes it quick to make your sentiments. Now, what I'm using here for my sentiment is a sentiment from the Butterfly Gala stamp set. If you love butterflies, this is a great, great set to have. All right, and I'm going to use this sentiment here, which I love the font. The good things in life are better with you. Okay, and that is so true. Lots of my Stampin' friends know that, and I've shared that with them. Now I'm going to do it this way, sideways, because that is the way that the punch will come in. So I'm going to go ahead, stamp it on my paper using the Memento ink. Then I'm going to go ahead and come in with my punch. You always want to have it so it's face up. You can see what you're punching, and then you can take a few moments to get everything nice and straight, just like you like. All right, almost done here. Now remember I told you that when you're putting your dimensionals on the back of your label, you want to make sure that you're putting them towards the bottom. So what I did is I put 3 on, which might be kind of excessive, but this is something that's going to have a little bit of wear on it if somebody's going to be opening and closing the box. So I put 3 across the bottom there like that. Okay, if you look, you can see that those are at the bottom. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take the backings off those. Then I'm going to bring in my box. I'm going to close the lid here and just kind of bring in my label. And maybe a third of it is overlapped, maybe a little less than a third. Okay, but now that's going to hold it closed until I want to open it. I just think that's a great way to be able to close the box. Isn't that simple? Simple but beautiful. I love it. I think it came out so great. I've made loads of these. I'm hoping to maybe one of the vendor shows that I participate in, usually in May, obviously is not going to happen, but they have moved it out to July. So I'm starting to think of maybe some little things I can make. This would be a great vendor show gift, or just a gift for anybody, just an everyday gift for a friend. Let me show you a couple other things that I used that are coming up in the next couple of days. If you are coming to my Stamp of the Month Club, this is something that we are going to be making online Monday night at the Stamp of the Month Club. We're going to have be using the Dressed to Impress suite, and this is a mini card holder with the mini cards inside. Now this one I did use a magnetic closure. Okay, so you'll be if you get this kit, you will get the magnets as well, and it closes up that way using the magnets. So I will be demoing how to make the box, and then we'll be making 3 of these little cards to go inside, okay, with envelopes. So that is just part of the event. Dory also has a really cool fun fold card that she's going to share. So if you would be interested in those kits, they're $15 or free with a $30 order. So that's coming up on Monday night. And next week for my Facebook Lives, I'll give you a little bit of a preview. On Tuesday, we're going to be making these little kindness boxes. This is also used with the Dress to Impress suite. And what would we put in a kindness box? A little mini kind bar. So I'll teach you how to make these little boxes for your mini kind bars. Found those at Sam's Club. Thought that would be a great gift to give to somebody. Also a great vendor event idea. And lastly, I found a new fun fold that I've never heard of. It's called the Joy Fold, and we'll be making this card next Thursday. Okay, I think it's a Joy Fold just because it's kind of like a hug. You get 1 arm, 2 arms. So I just think that's a beautiful card. This uses the Parisian Blossom suite, which is gorgeous. And the suite is carrying over, but the designer series paper is not. So you might want to think about it. If you want some of this paper, get it before the end of May. All right, well, thank you so much, ladies, for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial today. Remember, everything will be on my website. My blog and my YouTube channel. Please contact me if you would like a catalog. Anybody who's bought from me in the last year will automatically get one, and anybody that would drop me a message. I will get one off to you free of charge in the mail. So have a great Thursday, everybody. It's almost the weekend. You're going to make it. All right, take care and see you next week. Happy stamping.